The White House sharpening its message. Relief will come in the form of boosted wages and lower cost, reminding voters that when it comes to the cost of living, the problems did not start on its watch, not under President Trump, and it's digging the country out of that deep hole dug by the Democrats, one shovelful at a time. AAA says the national average for a gallon of regular unleaded, $2.95 a gallon. It's the lowest in 4 years. And it's not just the pump. Agriculture Secretary Brooke Rollins says a new farm aid package will be a bridge from Biden-era food prices to the new Trump economy. And with the big, beautiful bill now law, Americans can expect larger tax refunds in 2026, plus a stock market that's, well, it's in the green today, minting brand new millionaires every day. And it's not just on Wall Street. According to Fidelity, more American 401ks are now worth $1 million or more. That is 650,000 people just at Fidelity alone. Charles, how do you see all this? Put it all together.
I think the irony of this whole affordability crisis, which has been with us, but no one in the media decided to coin it, because remember, a couple of years ago, it was a vibe inflation. It was just how you felt. You just couldn't see how good it was. Vibe session, right?
Yeah,
and now it's real. At 9%, it's just how you feel. At 2%, 2.5%, golly, it's burning up in here, right? So it's good. But I think the president, I'm glad he's on the road. I think this is a perfect time going into 2026, because I do believe the stage is set. You know, on Friday, when consumer sentiment was out, that current number was like one of the lowest, maybe the lowest in history. But expectations made a big move up. And I think people sense this. Yesterday in New York Fed, inflation expectations coming down, Michigan sentiment inflation expectations coming down, big, beautiful bill stuff kicks in next year, the biggest tax refund ever. So I think we're really positioned very well to see stark improvement with all of these areas. And again, it's got to happen. People have got to be able to keep more of what they earn and have to earn more to begin with. And I think those are going to be the key components for next year. So listen, he did inherit a mess. The last couple of days I've been talking about beef, because that's what everyone's using now is like the hallmark. And this parabolic stock chart, chart looks like old-fashioned, like when the hottest meme stock out there. But again, it all began particularly steak in 2022. Ground beef, ironically, after the last 3 recessions, it went up and never came down. But again, it picked up speed after this last in 2022. In the meantime, herds went from 130 million to about 90 million. So, there are things that happen that the president cannot necessarily control. He can really, though, put his finger on the thumb in this economy. And I think all these things that they worked on, they kick in next year. And I think the stage is set for marked improvement next year.
It all comes down to, and I love what you said, how at 9% it was like the vibe session. Affordability has always been the word. It's just a matter of how we get there. And there's been a starkly different view. On the left, they want big government socialism, more spending. On the right, they effectively want the government to get out of the way so that private businesses can flourish. The big, beautiful law, lower regulation, lower taxes, step aside and just let the economy roar and do it on its own. We got some interesting data points this morning. The JOLTS numbers came out, but I'm really focused on the small business optimism numbers. Small business optimism went up to 99 from a 98.2 in October. What was interesting is plans to hire rose 4 points, matching the highest since October 2022. Positions we are not able to fill also rose a point, in line with about the 6-month average. Current compensation was unchanged, but compensation plans in the future jumped 5 points to 24%, the highest in about a year. That's what I want, the higher compensation. I want real wages to go up so we can start to dig out of the hole, Dagan, that you mentioned in the beginning, of negative real wages for 4 years and start to see on an after inflation adjusted basis, real wages start to jump.
Can I jump in here?
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing that is bothering me about this, it's to what you're saying, and Charles, what you're also saying, is this idea that everybody's jumping on the president. You said you were going to bring costs down faster. I kind of wish they wouldn't have necessarily said that we're going to do it on day one or we're going to do it so fast, because the left is just hanging on those words and really trying to kind of sear the president with that. Now, he's out at the right time, Brian, as we talked about yesterday, timing-wise.
Yeah.
I loved the clip when he sat down with the Politico reporter, and she said, can you give yourself a grade on the economy? And he said, it's an A, plus, 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 plus. It was 5 pluses. I had to count.
I never gave a grade that high when I was teaching.
Well, I mean, I don't know
That's
a grade that high
grade-flation.
existed. but this is the time to do that. And he is the best messenger than anybody else. And so I think that's going to start to resonate with people because this is the time that they're going to start to see it in their tax returns next year, which is, just less than a month away. It was Lutnick, I think, in July that went on Twitter and he said the Trump economy is officially arrived. He was talking about the surge in GDP at the time and the tariff policies. Overall, I think on both sides, people said if you were trying to fix the economy, we get what you're trying to do with foreign policy and trade, but tariffs definitely didn't help this inflation number now stuck at about 3%. And so it wasn't necessarily the time to go out there and do the victory lap. Messaging is important, but timing is important too. So, the American public and the voter, they're pretty forgiving. I'm hoping that they will put this behind them as they see the benefits come in. The midterms are ahead of us, and that's the next thing we need to focus on. Susie Wiles is saying that he's going to be the president, a great turnout machine for the midterm election.
I was looking around confused because there's like crazy interference in my ear. So that's why I was doing that. If somebody can fix that.
Did they ask
go
if you knew
ahead.
the frequency?
No, it's, exactly. What's the
The old Dan Rather
Yeah,
thing,
my middle name.
What's the frequency, Kenneth? Okay, I was thinking of you, Charles, with this whole affordability debate, because you probably remember this. When I say bulletin board material in football, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Sure.
Like, so the other team says something about
Talking
you.
smack.
Talking smack, and wait a second, that's what I actually do well. We're putting this up on the bulletin board, and we're going to look at it every day when we walk out the tunnel, and that's what we're going to work on. I think the Democrats have given President Trump his bulletin board material. All this affordability stuff. He can't bring down prices. He can't do this. And he knows that's what I do best. And so he's put that up on the bulletin board in the White House basically and said, everybody look at this. This is what they're saying about us. This is what we're going to spend the next year doing. And the reason giving somebody bulletin board material is so dangerous is because it's usually something that if they focus, they can do well. And this is where I'm with you, Jackie, because I think Democrats have stepped in it here. I know that they love affordability and they've been able to hang their hat on it. But man, if they walk into next year with a President Trump who's on the road and people getting bigger tax refunds and watching their after-tax paychecks go up and businesses enjoying the tax breaks, that is going to be a wave of positive sentiment that Democrats are not going to be able to fight. So enjoy it now, because this little ride you've been on with affordability might end very painfully and very quickly.
One quick thing, I'm sorry, Dagan, just to add to that, is that I think New York would have gone socialist anyway, because the electorate changed, because your wealth left already during COVID and new people came in that support socialism. That is their ideology. Yes, New York is expensive. It's always been expensive. Yes, it got more expensive under Joe Biden, and it continued to get more expensive under sanctuary city policies and everything else that we've gone through. I really just think that was a demographic thing. It wasn't necessarily expressing what the rest of America feels.
The way, though, the media, the regime media, the media minions who carry the ball for the Democrats are running with what President Trump and the White House are messaging. He used the word hoax. When was it? It was at the cabinet meeting last week.
Yeah.
I got
affordability hoax, yeah.
Right. I got a phone call from a family member this morning going, they are trying to portray President Trump as calling the issue of affordability a hoax. The headlines are, Donald Trump says claim of U.S. affordability crisis is a hoax. That is the FT, NPR, you name it. Every newspaper after newspaper, radio, other TV networks. And this family member said to me, that is not what President Trump is doing. And this family member is not conservative.
Right.
But That is not what he's talking about. He is saying he's blaming the cost of living problems on the Democrats and the $6 trillion in excess spending and debt that they racked up. That's what he's talking about. The hoax is them trying to lay blame on his administration.
Yeah.
But it is a lose-lose, whatever. If he talks about it, and that was the only problem I've had all along, is using the word affordability. And he knows better. He has said this out loud, this affordability con job. He's referring to the use of the word. That word is a brick that was crafted by the left that they have expertly thrown at conservatives. Don't use it. Call it something else. Stop using it. Stop using the language of the left, because they will continue to hammer you with it. And they're doing it to President Trump.
So I had a guy who sent me an email yesterday. His name is Dell. And he says, all the talking heads talking about the economy. Anyway, he was telling me how much coffee is up, how much bacon is up. This is in Arkansas. And he says, please quit blaming Biden. It's a cop-out. I hate the commies as much as anyone else. Thank you for your time. So I replied, it's not a cop-out. It all began in 2022. And I started with the cost, with the last personal income and consumption numbers. Anything that might be up in price, this is why I said inflation is not going to really be an issue, like motor vehicle sales, we're down 7%, recreational goods down. We don't need stuff. So all you can do, if you want to put the price up on a tennis racket, it'll get no inventory, you'll have 1 million of them and assume the price will come down.
Right.
Where prices did go up, though, on utilities, healthcare, insurance, obviously student loans, things like that, big government stuff, right? That's what you guys are talking about. As far as bacon, we're still not at a price that it was at the high of 2022. Again, the inflationary spike, the $7 trillion you were talking about. Coffee is higher, but it was already rocketing up by the time of the inauguration, just like eggs, which have come down. Then, of course, I said, of course, big box are eating some of this, a lot of cost of the tariffs, hence the Costco lawsuit saying we want some of the tariff money back. So, so this is someone who says he hates commies, but the messaging is getting to him. So it's important that President Trump and the other Republicans learn how to counter this. And also what's important is to say we're here to help, right? It's one thing, because I hate politicians who say I'm better than him and then tell me everything that's wrong with him or her. I want to know what you're going to do. You ran for the office. You couldn't do it on day one, which we knew you couldn't, but you're in there now. Yeah. And I think the stage is set for him to deliver on what he promised.
That's the key.
Well, the average credit card interest rate is near an all-time high at 22.8%, so almost 23%. That's despite the Federal Reserve cutting interest rates by 1.5 percentage points since September of last year. Where are you, Jamie Dimon? You know what? You're taking advantage of people who have had to run up their credit cards to cope with the inflation crisis that was caused by the very people who you support. Jamie Dimon and every bank CEO, Brian Moynihan, the ones who can't shut the hell up. They love to talk as if they're, helping the everyman and the everywoman, and you're not. You should cut credit card rates. Shame on you.